So hello everyone and welcome to the second annual Women in Tech Forum in Shaza. I'm Andrea Sessum, your moderator of today's educational panel discussion. Topic of conversation, our panelist today is titled Raising Women Interest in STEM Education. I will introduce our panelists shortly, who will each be asked 3 questions and will have an opportunity to share their thoughts on the topic today. And as I introduce each of the panelists, I will ask them to tell our audience about themselves, who they are, and what they do. And now, I would like to welcome our first panelist, Paula Beliza, Vice President at Google Latam. Welcome, Paula.
Thank you so much. Obrigada, Andrea. Thank you, Lindalia, as well. It's a pleasure to be here in this panel with you. Thank you, everyone, for hosting us. It's a pleasure to be here at the second Women in Tech Forum. So let me introduce myself. I'm super passionate about education, the convergence between education, entrepreneurship, and technology. I've built my career and everyone in technology. So I would say, much more than 20 years working in technology for global companies in Brazil and in Latin America. I have an academic background in technology as well. I used to be a developer. So I'm super passionate about that. I was born in Angola, so my parents was also immigrants from war to Brazil, but I was always living and raised in Brazil, so I'm a Brazilian by heart. So with that, thank you. I'm looking forward for this amazing discussion.
Thank you so much, Paula. So my next wonderful panelist joining us today, Dr. Maya Zelahic. She's a professor and department chair at Forbes School of Business and Technology, University of Arizona Global. Welcome, Maya.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Paula and Lindalia. It's a pleasure and an honor to be on the panel with you. As Andrea mentioned, I'm a department chair with the Forbes School of Business and Technology. I also worked on many different learning implementation initiatives with different companies in the developing world. My passion, education in the developing world in particular. So happy to be on this panel and provide the audience members with my expertise, my experiences, and also to share my passion.
Wonderful. Thank you, Maya. And our last but not the least panelist today is Lindalia Junqueira, founder and CEO of Hacking Rio. Welcome, Lindalia.
Thank you very much. It's more than a pleasure. It's an opportunity that we can share our experience with other women and girls that need this kind of panel to get inspired, to get engaged in our education in STEM. So I am from Brazil, but my parents from Portugal, like Paula said, they are immigrants from war, and I have a poor childhood, but education transformed my life. So I have this mission, I have this proposal. That's why I made the Hacking Rio, the other hackathon in America. Not only an event, it's a movement to encourage more women and more students to get involved in IT sector. We have lots of Brazilians that don't work and don't study. It's about 11 million people in Brazil that it calls no generation. So we have to take care of them. We have to, after 55 years old, actually do something that did have, to my kids and to my people in Brazil and all the world.
Something that creates an impact, and you're also providing service to others. What a wonderful message, Lindalia. Thank you. So I'm really excited then to now ask our first question to our panelists and to begin this conversation. How do you evaluate, and I will begin with Paula, how do you evaluate the present state of women in STEM education on a global level? And in your opinion, Paula, do women need STEM education to break into today's tech roles, whether it's a startup, entrepreneurship, or a career?
Yeah. So I think this is at the core of our discussion, right, Andrea, which means I think that we are not where we should be. I am not completely aware of the statistics at a global level in terms of US and the developed countries. But I can tell you from my experience in the developing countries that we are much behind in terms of where we should be. If I'm not mistaken, the statistics shows that only 11% of the overall STEAM graduates are women, which means that women not necessarily are seen or are encouraged to pursue careers in STEAM. And this is so much needed, not only because it's good for women, right, because they need to be where they want to be, but also because as we enter in a technology world that is going to be led by new innovations like AI, for example, if we don't have the needed diversity to lead with this technology, we have serious risks, right, for humanity. We need all the new looks into that technology so that we don't perpetuate what we humans think of, inclusion today. So I think that's where we should be. We should be at a fair participation of women. We need to encourage girls to see that there is opportunity, there is career opportunity, there is wealth opportunity, there is impact opportunity in choosing careers in tech that can not only change their groups and communities, but also society, right? We can change the course of the economy in the developing world if we have more women going for STEAM careers. So I think this is one of the most important things. And it's start education, right, Andrea? So we need education and that the openness for entrepreneurship. I think that the level of women having enterprises or leading startups is only at the beginning. We are starting to see some of the funds, right, also supporting women, but we cannot take the eye off that ball. I think this is just the beginning of where we should be.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Paula. So I will ask Lindalia if she can share her thoughts on this discussion question.
Of course, female students and employers are underrepresented in STEM-related fields. On average, around 30% of the world researchers are women. Especially in Brazil, like this pandemic scenario, we have the Fiocruz, that is a great research institute that's more than all solutions of this COVID vaccine is from women researchers. Less than a third of female students choose to study higher education courses in subjects like math and engineering. I am an engineer, and I used to be the only woman in my class. And this is still statistics in Brazil is still the same. One working still field publish less and often receive less pay. So when I was executive director or when I was a CEO, CEO of Lomar Education, I have half of the payment of other men. So we have to think about it. Science and gender equality are vital to the roles and researching sustainability development goals. So recent years much has been done to help inspire women and girls to study and work in technical fields. When Muhammad Yunus, the Nobel Peace, came to Brazil, he used to create the Bangladesh Bank in India, and he told me that 99% of the entrepreneurs, the women entrepreneurs, is the best entrepreneurs that they have. She really do the results that they want to accomplish. I did an experience when I was innovation director of Estácio University that had about 700,000 students, and I called 15-year-old girls from poor communities that didn't know nothing about technology. And during 4 hours, we did an workshop using the apps inventor from MIT. And she did a great job in 4 hours. And, I found out that the great problem is to break this wall. And, the women and the world, they have to believe that they can do it. So that's the first step to engage and to put more women in the STEM sector.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Landalia, for your thoughts on this. And I will now ask Dr. Maya Zelihic to give us her thoughts and her contribution in this.
Sure. I would like to piggyback on what Landalia was just saying. At the very core, we're talking about a perception issue. And I did quite a bit of research in the field of perception. You have to see yourself as a scientist, as a mathematician, as a technology person, in order to be one. And research studies that were done across the world, the researchers went into different schools and they asked boys and girls to draw a scientist, to draw a mathematician, to draw a teacher, to draw a nurse, to draw a doctor. And what ended up happening is every single time boys and girls drawing scientists, mathematicians, technology people, they were actually drawing picture of men in lab coats, men in, and so at the very core, girls are not seeing themselves as experts in the STEM fields. And in order for them to be successful, they have to see themselves first and foremost. Second issue, at elementary education level, at the middle school, girls are scoring either as well or even 2 points on average better than boys, as example in the field of mathematics. However, by the time they reach at the high school level, girls are taking fewer math courses at the college level. So at one point of time between the middle school to the college level, the girls are either losing confidence or losing vision. And is the problem of the society. Maybe they're not seeing enough role models. Maybe they're not having enough teacher mentors. Whatever the case is, we have captured the population of girls during that gap period for them to understand why are they losing their confidence in certain fields during that very crucial 6 to 7 year period. So at the very core, again, it's the issue of lack of vision, perception, lack of confidence, and lack of role modeling.
That's right.
And Maya, if I can just think back on what you're saying, and it's maybe another hypothesis is our educational system, right? Because the way that we raise our children is look at my son, which is very clever, and look at my daughter, who's very, very beautiful, right? So at the core of the way that we raise our children, we need to infuse exactly your points, which I love, Maya, which is how we encourage our girls to take serious careers, including on science, technology, mathematics, and so on. So I just wanted to add because I just agreed so much.
Well, absolutely. It's like when I'm an educated woman, as we all are, and I think I was guilty of that as well. When we're buying toys for our kids, we're more likely to buy a tech toy to our boys versus our girls, as opposed to, and luckily for my daughter, she hates dolls, so she never wanted to play with dolls. But I was the one who would buy her something along those lines, because we are trying to, no matter how educated we are, how open-minded we are still fitting ourselves within those narrow boxes of our gender roles that are still quite traditional. And like I said, educated as we are, I was guilty of doing that.
Me too.
Yeah, absolutely. I heard about a school in the United States called Aiden Up, that the girls start studying tech and entrepreneurship since 8 years. So it's something that we have to practice. We have to change our curriculums in primary school, in middle school, and university. That's right.
Great points. And I'm just going to ask then this question because it made me think of the educational system as well. When you think of teachers, you often think of older men in lab coats, especially for STEM education. So does the conversation need to happen within educational institutions as well, where there's more diversity in hiring of the teachers that are teaching STEM programs and courses? Because when you look at a teacher, usual bias is you have an older gentleman that's in a lab coat. You do not have usually a woman. An example of a teacher. So do you think there is a bias in terms of educational system as well, and who is teaching?
Yeah, I think so. That's that lack of role modeling that I was referencing. But I think that lack of role modeling is out of necessity. Because if you think about in the last few decades, we were graduating more men in that field. Therefore, you're going to have more male teachers. I was doing extensive work with e-learning implementation and development in the sub-Saharan region. And we're talking about STEM education here, so I don't want to go off topic, but access to any education is a concern in so many parts of the world. So when we were doing the e-learning and development, we were enabling girls to attend school from their villages, from the small cities, because their families could not afford for them to reside in big cities where the big universities were. And I have a real quick story that I would like to share. We were doing e-learning implementation at the University of Zambia, and 6 months afterwards we came and I had a young lady approaching saying that she's very thankful for what we have done. And I've never met the young lady, so I was a little confused. And she said her father wanted her to marry. And her father said, I cannot afford for you to go to the university, so you have to marry. Those are the only two choices she had. One was marriage, the other one was school. And she said because of our learning efforts, she was able to go to school online, and she was able not to marry a man she doesn't like. So I guess going back to the core concept, STEM education is terrific. I want to encourage more girls to go into STEM, but we first have to win the battle of free access of education to the girls in the developing world, any education, and then work through the layers of STEM education versus on the Western Hemisphere. We already won that battle, and now we're talking about higher levels of STEM education.
Great point.
I deal with lots of hackers, and you are trying to make some peer education, so they can multiply their knowledge. And we encouraged lots of women, and we did a cluster only for women in tech. And amazing because they are teaching other girls and other women, and they are influencing the market. Because here in Brazil, we have lots of open jobs in IT sectors, more than 700,000 place jobs that they are looking for, and they want more women, more Black people. They want more diversity because this makes difference in the day-by-day work. And we're launching Olympic Games for all the universities. 2 million people that are going to participate, and we're creating a course for teachers so they can be mentoring too. Because it's very different to be a teacher and to be a mentoring of this project-based learning that is a hackathon. So we are trying that other women train other women.
That's awesome. And just to complement, I think that the moment we are living, it's just phenomenal, right? Because technology is disrupting the classroom, right? It's scaling everything. So Maya, to your point, and to what Lindalia was telling, the moment is now, right? We are going to implement new technologies and new way to scale with education solutions and access. The moment is now. And then we need some role models, right, to be there combining with the education, with the technology systems that we will allow this access to really make it happen. But I think the moment is now, and the pandemic has demonstrated that, right? Because we immediately shift to this online world where maybe more women will be available and willing to consider being teachers and have, other ways of participating in the labor market. So
absolutely. And I think going back to Andrea's point and both of your points, how can we organize women to have more women role models? With our school, we're actually launching student clubs. And one of the student clubs that is being launched in February is Women in STEM. And our vision is to have, our technology division is focusing on all these different clubs. And the vision is to have the faculty, to have the staff members, and to have the students, everyone that is interested in the STEM career, and also open it to a general public. Because recently we realized, the four-year degrees are terrific, but at the same point of time, there are a lot of folks interested in technology. They're not interested in the 4-year degrees. So we started doing a lot of certificate things, such as the drone program, as an example, is very popular. And it was just launched last month within our school. And I will be honest, if you look at the percentage-wise, you're going to have as luck would have it, you're going to have more men interested in the drone program versus women. But the more exposure they have to different certificates, different options, especially clubs, I think that clubbing, when it comes to women, cannot be underestimated. That is of a crucial importance, because you see other women doing it, you're doing it, and you're able to mentor and network.
Excellent.
Yeah, Paula has to tell you about this, because Google is doing an excellent and amazing work there in Brazil. They are launching free courses for everyone and principal women.
Yeah, we are two comments there, and I'll pass to you, Andrea. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think we just launched the experience of the certificates in technology, right, Maya, which is for a very low amount, still not accessible to everyone. So we need to continue to work on accessibility in terms of affordability, but still not there. But still, we are breaking, right? We are unintermediate. There is no intermediating into this access of the certification for new professions out of technology. Still much to do in terms of attracting women, but the barrier of access and being something more simple than only going to formal courses and graduation, etc., is something that we might bring more people to those professionals, which, by the way, are not completely served, because we don't have the labor ready to that, right, for that. And the second thing is I wanted to mention, we do several gaming, right, to attract women, like game changes for girls, which provide preparation for girls to be able to program for the gaming industry, which is a more, let's say, easier first step to enter in this technology world. So I'm very, very eager into those programs, because, again, more options, more people will see the opportunity.
That's very good, Paula. And as most of you mentioned, it may not be necessarily, women may not be able to access longer educational programs because of financials or the distances of where they're living, but they may be able to, it seems more reasonable for them to access shorter courses where they can get the skills they need and get into the career, get the jobs they want. So very good. So I will thank you so much. And now we'll move towards our second question, because we have a lot more things to talk about. And my second question is, and some of you already addressed this, how do we encourage more women and girls to choose education in STEM? So I will start this time with Dr. Maya, please.
Well, I think providing them with plenty opportunities to engage. This summer, we're launching with the Ford School of Business and Technology. We're launching a summer immersion program, Girls Who Code. And it is sometimes important to come up with an attractive label for this new generation. So we're hoping that girls who can code, or girls who will learn to code, may attract a lot of ladies that are either at the middle school, high school level to engage. It is very, very important to have access to the industry professionals, to the experts. And back to the points that we were all making during the times of COVID, I think we now have access to more experts than ever before. In the past, it used to be you have to attend XYZ fancy conference in order to engage or maybe network with some of those experts. Now that the play field has, is pretty much flat as far as anyone can log in and attend different conferences and engage with industry experts. Going back to my original point, in the developing world, one of the first steps to have easy access to actual textbooks, in order relevant textbooks, because if you go to some countries, you have either outdated libraries where children are learning from 2-year-old books. You can learn philosophy or history from a book that is 50 years old. You cannot go with any sort of a meaningful STEM education studying the curriculum from 1985, not to mention 1964. Therefore, step one would be having an access to digital libraries across the world where the girls and boys can have relevant course material, number one. Number two, being able to join different networks like the one that I mentioned where you have different student clubs. Number three, having easy access to some of the certificate programs. And I think as educators, every single school in the Western Hemisphere is almost owing it to communities to provide certain programs, such as the summer immersion program that we were referencing, that with easy access, regardless of one's financial status, and encouraging through the grants, through resources, encouraging female students to enroll in certain programs in order for us to have what we were talking about, teachers, male teachers, in order for us to have more female teachers 10 years down the line.
Very good. Very good. Thank you for that, Dr. Maya. And I will ask Lindalia to give us her comments.
You know, when I was selected by Singularity University in NASA in 2010, and was the first Brazilian that was selected, it's kind of a dream come true. How come a poor child like me can reach this? And when I have this class with a robotic class with Dan Barry, that's the best astronaut in this campus. In 4 hours, I had to learn something about robotics and did a project. And after I did my pitch, I realized that that's not the point. Technology is not the point. The point is the computer thinking, how you can solve problems using the technology. So first of all, we have to change the way the people start doing the courses. We have to first break this invisible wall and make them believe that it's possible to learn. And then we have to encourage more women to show up. Usually women work so much and have the family to take care that they don't reference like Paula Belize. She's an example for me because she always shows up and she inspires other women. But we have to encourage more women in tech and other sectors to show up, to have this model for these girls. These girls need to visualize that they can reach this point. So I think that is.
That's a great message. So having a family and being able to pursue your dreams in your career is possible. Strong role models, as you mentioned, all of you mentioned before. So I will now continue this conversation with Paula. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah. So Lindalia, thank you. You're always very kind with me. We have been partnering a lot. I would take a complementary approach to Dr. Maya and Lindalia's comments. So there is lots of studies proving that women, we self-sabotage ourselves, right? And we also have the imposter syndrome, right? Which is, I'm not able, I'm not capable. Somebody will find out that I'm not as good. I'm not ready for the new level of my career. I cannot ask for a raise, so on and so forth. So this is also because of this, hard to balance aspects of a women's life, which is family, work, career, etc. And women cannot be ambitious as well, right? If we want to have a career, is because we have a unbalanced ambitions. So what I want to mention is, from the psychological point of view, we need to show our girls that it's absolutely possible, just as you just mentioned, Maya, which is I don't want to choose between having to marry to study, right?
That's right.
The more stories we have out there to show up that it's possible, the best, and then we need to do our job in terms of standing for those women. This is one thing. The other thing is, there is also studies that women at the middle point of their careers, they give up, right? Because they don't want to raise to more senior levels in their careers, and that has also to do with their family choices, etc. So what I believe we need to do is we need to mentor and coach those women so that they understand that it's possible, again, to balance the approach between other paths of lives and having a career. So But only recently we are organizing ourselves among women to do this mentoring rings, right? As I think was mentioning here before. So I think we need to show up to really support people and women in those moments of their careers where we know that the self-sabotage and the syndrome of the imposter is going to come up. And then we need to help pass that bridge, because then it's only about, building their own career and building self-confidence and having, a much more balanced approach toward career.
I would like to add something to it. As I was doing research on perception, the way women perceive things is completely different from the way men perceive things. Women tend to over-explain, and that ties to Paula's concept of imposter syndrome. We feel the need to establish why we are at a particular table. Gentlemen come to that table, they take the seat, and they don't explain. Yet again, that is deeply rooted within our society. We also have to be honest with ourselves as women. Women have to support other women regardless of the field. And honestly, women leaders still have a lot of opportunities in that regards. Because a lot of women are still having the attitude of, I walked barefoot through snow, so I'm not going to share what I've learned as I was walking barefoot through snow with other women. As opposed to saying, I worked so hard to get where other men are. Let me help some of the younger girls catch up so they don't have as difficult a path. We can learn so much in life without having to struggle nonstop. That is not just a STEM issue. This is the issue where we do a lot of gender studies where the women leaders, for whatever reason, have that opportunity of being more supportive towards other women. I don't know what that is. Is it an insecurity? Is it that imposter syndrome? I have to prove myself. In order to prove myself worthy, I have to be better than others. But helping others, mentoring others, doesn't make you less worthy. It makes you better. So thank you, Paul, for mentioning that. That just kind of reminded me of that concept.
That's right. Absolutely. I'm 33 years married, and I have to quit my career lots of times. In spite of my husband, it's a great, a great friend and share with me all this working family, but sometimes I need to quit. And that's something that it's usually in pandemic scenario, that everybody's working. It's not working from home. They are working in home. They have to do all the stuff. And lots of women call me to ask me to help them, because they couldn't do lots of things at the same time and then still keep the performance in the work and get stressed. And we have to balance. And I watch a Netflix series called Borgen. Mm-hmm. And that's amazing. It inspired me a lot, because he's the first prime minister in Denmark. Mm-hmm. And she had to lead with all these things. And lots of lessons I learned with them.
I would like to share something real quick, if I may. At the Forbes Women's Summit 2 years ago or 3 years ago, please don't quote me. It might have been 3 years ago. All these years are now mixed up in my head. The CEO of, at the time, the CEO of Pepsi, an Indian-born, quite inspirational woman, was talking about how at one point of time she's managing thousands and thousands of employees. She gets home and her husband cannot find his shirt or his tie. And she said she's having this conference call. She's having all these high-ranking professionals, but she said, I have to find that shirt, because otherwise he's not going to get off my back. And that resonated so much, because yes, we are winning that war on when it comes to equality every single day. But if my kids need to find their socks, they are not coming anywhere else than my room. And hopefully I'm not at a conference at that point of time. So that's kind of we still have to carry that load,
Normal life.
The chief of everything, right? The role, the chief of everything role.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for sharing that story. You really made me laugh because it is true. So I will now ask our panelists. We're almost at the end, and it's such a wonderful conversation. To provide any suggestions or any feedback that they wish to leave the audience with today. And I will begin with Paula.
Okay. Well, I will make an effort to be concise, because I think it's not a single bullet, right? It's not a silver bullet. I think it's a journey, right? And it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Having said that, if I think the number one message is, don't let others define your limit, right? Don't ever let any person define or let you say no to anything that you are dreaming about and making an effort to become, and etc. This is number one. And then number two, you have to come up with the responsibility, not allowing anyone to say no to your dreams or to your project, which is be prepared, right? So preparation gets you to the opportunity, right? So then I think studying and be willing to take new projects, to learn, never stop learning. I think those things all together, don't let others put a limit, be prepared, and don't ever, ever stop learning. I think those are the things that I consider every day in my life.
Very good. Thank you very much, Paula.
Thank you.
Linda?
Thank you, Andrea.
I have a great responsibility now because I am ambassador of Global Women in Tech in Brazil. And we like to integrate all the communities. I don't want to be one more community. I want to integrate all the women that are doing amazing jobs in their regions and their areas. So I think that women can be more friendship. I suffer a lot in other companies that I've worked, more by other women than men. So I think that we have been more, more generous. We have more game developers, women in Brazil than men, but they have to use a nickname, a male nickname.
Wow.
So there is something that we have to take care. We have to support other women, and we have to really integrate and be generous to share our knowledge and our experience and support each other.
Very good. Thank you, Lindalia. And Maya, do you have any last words for our audience? Any suggestions or recommendations?
Sure. Everyone that is entering any field, set your goals. Have that what not a cliche phrase. Set that vision board. Also, be realistic about the goals and work within the framework of what you have. Because it's not every single one of us was given a different set of cards, and we're trying to win at the game. But we're not having the same playing ground. We haven't started at the same level. With that said, work within your networks. Work and surround yourself with people that are supportive of you, that are supportive of your goals, that are pushing you harder. Focus on why I can do something versus why I cannot. Join a club, join an organization, pursue one or two certificates in the field that you've never entered before, because you don't know if you like something if you don't try. I'm not a photographer. I'm not aspiring to be one, but I took a course in photography, and I've discovered that had I done it maybe one earlier, I would have been a talented photographer. So discover your secret talents, whether it's in a STEM field or any other field. As far as the countries, corporations, especially the developing world, just about some of the more serious matters, make it a goal, not a PR campaign, but a goal to help an institution, institution in the developing country. Support a library, support easy access to resources and tools. Maybe open a club of your school in a different country. Start small, because everyone can make a difference if we have a string of small things and small steps. And going back to our points today, support other women, support other girls, and inspire them to do better than you, as opposed to keeping them down in order to make sure they're not out competing you in 2 years at a corporate level.
Very good. So one of the common messages that I'm hearing through our conversation today is never stop learning. Never stop learning. The power of great community great role models. And as a woman, don't be too hard on yourselves. And I think as women, we often are. I know I am. So very, very great messages and very great takeaways from our conversation today. So this, unfortunately, brings us to the end of our panel conversation today. I would like to thank our gracious panelists for their time and a very informative and engaging conversation. And thank you to the audience for joining us as well. It was a pleasure for me to moderate today's panel. And be well and stay safe, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure.